friends, welcome to the channel History Revisited, and we're working on something different, right? This would be the Cronoviser, invented by, supposedly invented by this father here. This is Father Pellegrino Irenetti, excuse me. And it's sometime he was born in 19, or in, he died in, well, I got that number all over the place. He died in 1994. I was going to say born in 1295, but that sure the hell ain't right. So, anyway. Irenetti was a priest, a scientist, a museologist, so somebody who who studied music and the effects of sound. The world's leading authority on archaic music. He was also a famous exorcist of his era, so he's quite a colorful character. And there's this story or rumor or whatever, it goes around, it comes up every now and then. Right now with YouTube and the internet, there's a lot about this on this guy. But I remember reading something about him back in the 80s when I was in high school, and this great mysteries and myths and stuff, and there's a lot of people have been trying to debunk it since, that he helped invent. Now they say he invented this thing called the Cronoviser. This is a machine that allows people to astrally project, or basically view different places in time and history. So instead of, it's still a form of time travel, but in a kind of a clever way of getting around it. Physically speaking, sending an item or a person back and forth through time is all but impossible based off of Einstein's theories, although there's a lot of caveats that says it's possible that the impossible can still be possible. Get your head around that one, right? So, the good father is actually a part of a group of 12 scientists and deep thinkers of his era that all got together and contributed in rather directly or indirectly. And the rumors include, what is his name? Fermi. Let's see, where we got. Yeah, because it says, let me go down this thing. All right, so Father Francois Brune reports that Irenetti had confided in him about the Cronoviser story, saying that he had heard that the father had heard Mussolini's speeches, had visited Rome, had seen the final days of Jesus, and lots more. And that this was such a revealing machine, a revealing thing, that it was considered something that was not to be shared with the greater world. And Irenetti also told Brune that he and 12 other scientists, including the famed Enrico Fermi and Werner von Braun, the guy that the Back to the Future doc was modeled after, had collaborated to create this machine, this weird idea of I looked for obviously there's no pictures to be found of this machine, and I don't have anything even closely resembling this machine that would be suitable. At least I don't think so. So there's no point in trying to post one. But the idea was that this machine was made up of cathode rays, antennas, and rare metals that were receptive to sound and light signals at all wavelengths. So this involves a lot of technical expertise. Another thing that's never been nailed down exactly when this occurs. And of course, Fermi, he doesn't ever acknowledge he ever participated in anything like this. And time travel and the people who want to research it from a science perspective kind of get downplayed by the rest of the rank and file scientific community. They tend to take a dim view in this sort of pseudoscience, as a lot of them see it, because they themselves don't believe it or don't buy into the possibilities. Thus, it can't happen. So it's like von Braun. Nowhere in von Braun's memoirs or any of the books he's ever been attributed to all the stuff he did do, all the stuff he did in rocketry, both for the Germans and then for the Americans and at NASA. Not once has he ever mentioned ever working on anything to do with a time machine. Now that said, it's not uncommon for, let's say, a government agency to get together and bring together a dozen very top people in their field and task them to solve a problem or to create something that should be impossible, and then make them swear a whole packet full of stuff that says they will be in prison for the rest of their lives or possibly shot if they ever spill the beans, so they never talk about it. That goes on a lot more than people think. I do so. And being a fan, like I said, of the Bob Lazar stories and Bob Lazar himself, he's a prime example of what I'm talking about here. He was recruited in a very roundabout way, supposedly sent to a very top secret facility on the edge of another secret facility that everybody pretends like it didn't exist for most of that era, to study some technology beyond anything our Earth could produce and even comprehend. And he had to sign a whole slew of stuff. And because he violated a couple minor details there, like taking an RV full of tourists out to the proving grounds to show them the nights when the UFOs were being flown, that kind of put him in the bad Dutch, and his life has been a total shambles ever since. And I can honestly wonder how much of that total shambles of his life was actually engineered by the government as payback and to help make him look like a big quack. So that said, most of these scientists are not going to admit to something like this unless it's a spectacular success, and they don't fear retribution either from the government that they live under and or their own scientific community brethren, because once again, reputation is everything for a lot of these outfits, and so for scientists, reputation matters. There's a lot of really good scientists that went off into some tangents, into some really obscure quote pseudoscience that hurt their careers. Their careers never quite recovered from it. They were always that guy. It's like Bob Lazar. It didn't just happen to Bob Lazar. In the Bob Lazar story, the main reporter fella, he was just following up on what he thought would be a neat thing about these weird UFO things, and it turned into a lifetime freaking existential crisis for him, and it caused him no end of harm on his reputation as an honest, legitimate journalist. And it wasn't until many decades later that he started to get vindicated on some of his pursuits, then through his pursuits of the UFO question, this fellow has gained a much better set of fan base in my mind. So there's a great cost in admitting that you're doing something that the government don't want you to know about. And obviously, the Vatican Church didn't fund this program. That's the curious thing that I wonder about it. There's no references whatsoever whether or not the Catholic Church itself funded this program and would have supported it in any way. I'm not saying that they wouldn't, because the Vatican has extremely deep pockets. It's just like the mysteries beneath the Vatican City are endless. It's implied that the catacombs and lower levels beneath the Vatican go on for miles and miles and deep under earth. So there's this huge complex that's sitting underneath the St. Peter's Plaza or mall or whatever the hell you want to call it, and amongst them is a literal treasure trove of historical artifacts and books, scrolls, tablets, many things that would call into question our belief system and our view of the world today, and our view of ourselves and our place in the world today. And for one reason or another, it's determined not safe for humanity to know this stuff, or it's something's very detrimental to the church in some way. And so having it bring out forward is really, really hard and unlikely to happen. And we know from the Freedom of Information Act that some things get revealed that they didn't want to be revealed. So, the good father here, he ends up kind of being seen as a bit of a quack by a lot of people. Not his immediate circle, but from a larger standpoint. I can see why Enrico Fermini and von Braun didn't want to ever acknowledge it if they did. This brings me to another question. Like I said, and I started to touch on this a little bit ago. at no point have I found anything hard concrete evidence of what year this thing was created. So I have to look at the scenarios that were going on in that era. We know that the good doctor was born in the late 20s, because that's what his bio says. What year that was, I don't know, but it was might have been 1895. So it might have been 1895. I just have that wrong letter there, or wrong number there in that number. So he came up and invented this thing prior to the 60s. As the story gets out in the late 60s, starts leaking out. This Brunetti starts publishing his memoirs, and other things started getting out that this and other things had gone on behind the Vatican, behind the Vatican curtains, out of sight, out of mind kind of stuff, and that this fellow here was instrumental in this Cronoviser being developed. And it's suggested that this picture on the left down here was this image taken off of the cathode tube, setup. So we're talking a 1950 style television rig, with whatever additional things they had to plug into it. I still believe, because there was television in the early 40s, it was coming out in the late 38, 39, we started 36, 37. Because by the time we have, Germany, Nazi Germany hosts the world, the Olympics, it's being televised, it's being broadcast. There's video camera or cell cameras, the old school cell, how do they call it, cellophane, not cellophane, but the old reel-to-reel cameras. But there was also broadcasting, like on radio, and very crude television. It wasn't until after World War II is over with that we see the revolutionary takeoff of the TV. But they were in the makings. So it's quite possible that all the hardware was available, and so was the knowledge to create a device of that nature. Which is how would it connect to the ether? How would it connect to the divisions of line transmission? How would you be able to direct it to go into the past? And is it easier? Because there's no mention of anything from the future. At no point do they talk about anybody, whether it's in Reddy or it's Brune. Nobody talk about future views, or what they saw from the future. And at some point, though, it's shown to the sitting pope at the time. It's just that this off-grain black and white picture here in the lower left, or the lower left, is supposedly a caption of that image. Although I find that highly doubtful, because they barely had television. So having the idea that they have a recording device, how big of a recording device would it have had to been to record that? Did they? Maybe they did. I'm not sure. It's once again acknowledged that the Vatican has some very deep pockets, so that they have their own private radio station that they utilize for broadcasting Catholic news and things like this around the world. They also have their own television network now, or their own television station that they send out and what I'm talking about. So how much of that plays this role in believing when this was done? Just like the scientists in question, I wonder if this attempt, if this was a thing, it was done in the mid to late 1930s, before the war breaks out in Europe, through the lowlands and everywhere else. Ends up with him shooting himself in his own bunker 5 years later. How much of the possibility that this project took place prior to that? And this would be why von Braun would be involved. He's still a prominent person, engineer, and scientist. And Fermi, all coming from different states, nations that are not in conflict at the moment. Some secret meeting, and it would be interesting to know. And obviously they don't have names for any of the other 9 participants in this thing, right? So what are you going to do with it, right? So we talk about the technology was available, and then it was going to say that Enradi used the Cronoviser to verify many of the events in the Bible. Another thing to keep in mind that I found interesting is doing some research, that Fermi, being a Nobel Prize winner, is also an expert in time. Let's say time travel, time specifically. So he would be bringing some pretty notch skills to the table. If we look at the biggest in, research project of its era, would be the bomb when they built the Little Boy and Fat Man. They get the bombs built. Half of them don't even know what the hell they're working on half the damn time, and then those who do are terrified by what this thing can become, and what they're potentially releasing on the world. And some of it's just sheer miracle that one of them didn't act on it and cause the program to fail or be significantly delayed. It's possible. So these fellows might have got together to brainstorm an idea to come up with the feasibility of how this would work and how you would pursue it to make it work. And the good father is sitting there through the whole thing, and he's either got an eclectic memory where he remembers everything verbatim what's said to him, or he has the clever options of, well, see, I lost my train of thought again on that. I wonder if this took place. The invention of the device had to have been before World War II broke out, maybe just before. Because this would have been an era where these various scientists from different countries. Von Braun was in Germany. Fermi was in France, I think. I don't know that for sure. Obviously, they would all had to come together, and if there was in conflict, that wasn't going to happen. So this invention that had to have taken place prior to the World War II scenario. I mean, there can be some argument that it takes place after World War II, but I find that, while plausible, still problematic. Von Braun was never going to leave the United States. Once he came over there on paperclip, he was not going overseas because he would be at risk of the Russians either killing him or capturing him. And they would have tried if he was that smart and that damn valuable, and the insights to a lot of key things in our defense and military structure. So when we look at that, and I wonder if it took place far enough back, it's quite possible that these people did participate, but just kept their mouths shut. Or they participated indirectly in ways where, and Roddy here, or one of the other key people that were at the table, contacts them and talks innocuously about something to get an answer in a roundabout way without stepping on their toes. You still have to wonder about that thing. So that brings me to another thought. Just exactly how did this Cronoviser reportedly work? A literal visual machine that's like a TV, and you just turn it on, you can change dials, and it moves you through time and space. But if that's so, then it should be 100% random and not something that's really practical. That's that consideration to take in matter. So there's that other concept of like deja vu, where we are seeing or dreaming about past or possible alternative future events. Could Father Ernati have just figured out how to build a device that enhances such thought process? The human brain is the most complicated thing out there, very complex, at least the most complicated thing that I'm aware of anyway. And so the possibilities are that you're going to carry that over into, yes, and I went there and lost my throat. Yeah, this is getting bad. I'm starting to lose my thought process on that. Figure out how to build a device enhances the sight. So yeah, deja vu. If you can figure out a way to tap into this latent ability, because we know that the CIA, for example, and the Russians both have some pretty extensive programs into ESP and remote viewing. So what if you had somebody who had a talent? So maybe Enrique actually has a talent for remote viewing, and he just isn't aware of it. He has a gift, and so they managed to concoct this device that actually enhances that. So he's able to utilize this to direct his ESP sight to different timelines, to different portions of the world on different eras and epochs and so on and so forth, and have that enhanced in his mind. So there's some implications based off of the pictures that they actually were able to make recordings of some limited effort, or took physical pictures of this stuff on the screen. Where did it all go? What did they do with it all, right? Why are, it was determined by the Pope after the fact that this was way too important of a machine and it was too dangerous, more importantly, too dangerous, most likely too dangerous to his religion, because religion in the world today, and specifically America, is in a major decline. And I can go off on a rant on that, probably have, but I'll just keep that one short. When I grew up with fire and brimstone Pentecostal family, and the end times was every damn weekend, every freaking week, sometimes multiple times a week. We got to do this because the end times are coming. We got to do that because the end times are coming. Well, we don't got a truck. We're using the old wagon because what are you going to do when the end time comes? Well, pray I survive, because most likely that's going to occur because we've had a major tactical nuclear exchange, and sometimes that's just the way it goes, and sometimes it don't. I just don't know. This is such a fascinating concept, and it's just realistic enough to make me believe that there is a possibility here. I think it's far easier to find a way to develop a distant viewing device than it is to physically manifest a person back and forth through time. I'm not saying that actual time travel is impossible, because I think there's plenty of ways for that to occur and don't violate a bunch of physics rules in the process. And then I also will acknowledge that no matter how smart our scientists are, no matter how smart and capable they think our technology is, they keep proving to themselves and to everybody else over and over and over again that that's not true. So when I hear somebody with the absolutes, we absolutely know that this is going to be this way. You absolutely know? You mean you absolutely think you know? Because we don't know. Everything we think we know gets challenged every now and then. It throws things into a loop. I mean, physics, astrophysics, general social mechanics, all this stuff plays roles in ways that we never figure and never consider. So when it comes to agencies and companies, and more important, countries, so the idea that the Vatican inadvertently or indirectly or directly led to this creation of this device, and then the sitting Pope decided the device needed to be destroyed and disposed of. And I remember I was just old enough to be a part of that, and I didn't understand why we were taking Mama's big honking stereo out of the living room and going to take them outside and then take a sledgehammer to it and throw the broken chunks in the back of a pickup. It happened. Doesn't make sense. It was just like how much solid material, archaic information, how many scrolls and books and tablets and tchotchkes that were collected down through the centuries and millennia that the Catholic Church has been around, that supposedly there's this super secret vault located deep beneath the Vatican City, and it's full of stuff that would be major blows to Christianity and as a whole and modern religion period. A lot of damning information on other countries. Many of them are friends are kept hidden. In America, well, the Vatican's got 10 times that, and they got a lot more time. Well, America's only a couple hundred years old. The Vatican's thousands plus. The Vatican comes out of the early 1200s or 1300s or something like that, the initial forays into it. And as the Catholic Church becomes an entity, things grow and become more potent and more powerful through the centuries. So, yeah, they're going to accumulate a huge amount of stuff. Some of it is probably not worth looking at, but some of it's got to be spectacular. Just how much of the real world's history is being hidden on purpose or destroyed outright to prevent people from seeing it. So the sitting Pope, I think I've tried to address this one 3 times. The sitting Pope declares that the Cronovision, is too dangerous to leave intact. So he orders it destroyed, which they do. And part of the reason for it being is because the channels and stuff that we try to put things on have a bounce. Not yawning. Well, you know what? I'm going to grind my way through this damn thing yet. Why would they keep this information hidden? Why would the Pope order the machine to be destroyed? Because there's no government on this planet that wouldn't want their hands on it, and there's plenty of corporations and private entities that would definitely want their hands on it. More importantly, if they actually manage to develop this kind of device, they have the blueprints to build more. perhaps they saw things that we should not see, and realities or alternate realities that the sitting powers today would not tolerate because it's a threat to them directly. Not to mention the fact the Vatican's better off just pretending like it doesn't have any of this stuff because they're lucky. They kissed the ring of the Nazi Party during World War II in Germany, and while Italy was being occupied by Mussolini, they managed to avoid getting utter scrutiny because I'm just suspecting enough years go by that somebody from the SS and force is going to show up at the Vatican and force the doors open and go take a look for themselves what's being hidden behind and below the building. And perhaps there's nothing there at all. Maybe it's just old records, and as they claim, old records and tax documents and nothing of value. That's why they get stashed in the way they do. Obviously, nobody uses dungeons anymore. Dungeons is kind of a no-go thing. After they got out of the Inquisition, they decided they didn't want to deal with dungeons anymore, except for the occasional, temporary holdings, that kind of stuff. But supposedly it's buried down there and hidden, well hidden, and there's a lot. See, it goes back to that, like the Templars. When the Templars spent 9 years digging under this Temple of Solomon looking for something specific, they weren't down there just looking around digging for fun. Don't be absurd. They had a damn good idea what it was they were looking for and what it might be worth or what it might be said to be able to do. So of course you're going to destroy this stuff. So it's just like the so-called 12 or 11 other scientists that assisted in writing in this development of this thing chose never to talk about it again. Well, either they were paid off well with the caveat we will take everything you own, or B, you're going to have an incident and you're going to have an incident really damn fast. We don't want to see that happening, but if you don't know how to play ball, you're no good to us. The Cronoviser. I have to wonder if we had a device like this, how much real impact would it have on the world? If you could see far enough in time to see the next major catastrophe come, and you say, oh, in 25,000 years, comet so-and-so is going to come in and shatter the Earth or hit part of it and devastate the rest of it. Well, you still got 400 years to worry about it, right? How far out is it? So at that point, they just said, well, keep an eye on it, and then they just toss it off the side and they never come back to it. You have to go and wonder, was these people working together to create this device that was then later destroyed to allow them to see back in time? Was this fan full of shit or an honest soul? How do you weigh that? Till next time. Hope you guys have yourself a great weekend. It is actually Memorial Day as I do this recording. Once again, I'm half asleep. I've been doing videos since 10:30 this morning, so this is my last one, and I'm starting to lose my brain. I'm getting tired and hungry. That's part of it too. Anyway, till next time, you guys. I hope you guys have a great week and things to just keep thinking. How much is out there we don't know and that they don't tell us about? How much do they claim they know that they don't know? And where's the truth lie? Somewhere in between. The gray area is always the gray. Truth and lies intermix based on the level of degree. Does the good father, a prominent scientist and a frickin' exorcist lie? What gain does he get to lie from it? Well, the fact that the Pope had the thing that's destroyed, not surprising whatsoever. Just saying. It just irritates me to no end.